Hi guys, BuildZoid here, and this is just going to be a very quick sort of channel update video because I've been getting the same question over and over and over again about sort of my plans for X570 content coverage. And so yeah, we're going to go over that. So first of all, I've had a bunch of people ask me about ASUS motherboards. BuildZoid, why aren't you talking about any of the ASUS X570 motherboards? Simply because, let's put it this way. Steve went to Computex. Steve went and got a bunch of, so Steve from Gamers Nexus. So he went to Computex. He took a bunch of MSI, he got permission from MSI to take motherboard pictures. He got permission from ASRock to take pictures. Gigabyte, we didn't even need permission. Gigabyte's super chill with me for some reason. Even though I've like grilled their B450 lineup and the lower end of their X470 lineup. Actually, everything below the Gaming 7 on X470, in my opinion, from Gigabyte is absolutely bloody atrocious. But, Gigabyte seems to just be like, okay, we'll fix that, and you can just do, and here, have all the information you want. So, yeah, and Gigabyte just kind of sent a bunch of pictures out, like, they sent over pictures already before Computex, and then more pictures recently, right? I have their entire lineup at this point. So... yeah, so I have pictures for all of those. But ASUS, Steve couldn't get, Steve just couldn't get any pictures of any ASUS motherboards for reasons that I will not go into. But yeah, basically we don't have any pictures of any ASUS motherboards, so I can't do any ASUS PCB breakdowns because I don't know what's hiding under all of the heat sinks. Or, well, does ASUS still have heat? Yeah, they have heat sinks. Okay, it's not that bad. So, yeah, but what I can definitely say is I'm going to be definitely buying a Crosshair 8 Impact. Like, I am buying that thing. Like, if Steve doesn't get, well, even if Steve got a review sample of that board, I'm buying it just because it looks, really interesting. Like, that is a board I'm super interested in because it's, it's mini DTX, it's an Impact, it's ROG, it has all of the LN2 functionality on it. So that just looks like it has LN2 mode and everything. So that just looks like a super, super solid extreme overclocking board. And it shouldn't be as expensive as the rest of the Crosshair 8 lineup. So, yeah, I'm buying an Impact. Like, I'm definitely buying an Impact for Ryzen 3000. But the rest of the, so I'll definitely do a PCB breakdown of that because I'll have it and I'll be able to take my own pictures and everything. But the rest of the ASUS lineup, it really depends. If I can source pictures that are actually decent enough quality that I can work from them, then I'll do videos. If I can't, I won't make videos. Now, for motherboards that I will be doing for sure, MSI's X570 Godlike, I actually have the script for that, notes. I have the notes for that one currently open. I've been trying to record that video over and over and over and over again. The thing is just like when I do a video on AHOC, because that's a video for that's Steve's picture of the Godlike, so I'm doing that for Gamers Nexus. And plus, I work, when I do videos for Gamers Nexus, that's contract work. Like, I get paid for that. I saw a few comments which were like, BuildZoid, if you don't get paid, you don't have to do videos for Gamers Nexus. No, it's not like that. It's literally just like, I like to do videos for AHOC because here, if I want to go onto a multi-minute, random, thought thing, if I want to go down some random path with my thoughts on a motherboard, it's fine because everybody who watches this channel is already used to that and just kind of tolerates it. If they don't like it, they still just kind of tolerate it. I can't really do that on Gamers Nexus because they serve a much more casual audience than I do. Let's put it that way. And so it's not okay for me to just ramble about random memory overclocking details that nobody really cares about that much. Which is like how the Z390 Dark ended up in 2 separate videos because it's just like one video covers all the overclocking stuff and the other video just covers the VRM because I was just like, there is no way I am getting this to, it's partly because I ramble on, but also it's just like I couldn't figure out a way to condense that below 30 minutes. Because once you go past 30 minutes, it's like a psychological barrier with most YouTube viewers where they won't click on the video in the first place. So You know, there's a speed up function under videos on YouTube. You can make it play back at like 2x speed. It turns your 30-minute video into a 15-minute video without any editing. It also converts 10-minute videos into 5-minute videos, but it's more useful for videos like mine where you can just speed it up to whatever speed you can still understand me at and, you know, roll with it. So Godlike is going up on Gamers Nexus as well. I need to finish recording it, then it needs to get edited, then it'll go up on Gamers Nexus. I really want to get that board done today. If that doesn't happen, I'm getting like the Tai Chi done or something. So I also have from Steve the X570 Tai Chi. I have the X570 Creator. Those are, well, Tai Chi is not that interesting to me, but the Creator board looks pretty cool. So I'm doing those. Also from MSI, I have Steve sent me the pictures for the Gaming Pro Carbon, so I'll also be doing that one for Gamers Nexus. Might be able to get MSI to, like, I'm not sure if Steve got more pictures than what he already sent me from MSI, or if I'll just have to ask MSI to send over the rest of their lineup, which, like, that'll be fine. That'll work. That'll probably work just fine. So we can do the entire X570 lineup from MSI as well. Those are, like, I think those are going to be some pretty solid boards among those as well. Though, yeah, so those will be definitely some interesting boards to look at, and I'll probably, like, I'm not sure. I want to do a bunch for my own channel, because obviously it just, like, it's simplified. Like, doing PCB breakdowns is super easy compared to some of the other stuff I tried to do, right? Like, the memory overclocking videos are just absolutely killer for me. So yeah, so I'll try cover as many MSI boards as possible. ASRock I already named off the 2 boards I have. Those are going up on Gamers Nexus. Gigabyte, I have literally the entire lineup, because Gigabyte is just super cool with me for some reason. Like, I'm not even entirely sure why, because they only got in touch with me after like, what was it? I think I basically made a 40+ minute video roasting one of their motherboards for doing the whole, oh, we have an 8-phase and then it's actually a 4-phase. Except they took it to a whole new level where it's like, normally when you have a motherboard faking its phase count, right? You have two high side MOSFETs, 2 low side MOSFETs, and 2 inductors all in parallel, right? So that's great. And then there was Gigabyte's take on it, where it's like, well, if you just remove the extra high side MOSFET, it'll still work. I was like, yeah, I mean, it would also work if you removed the second low side. You could just have 2 inductors and 2 MOSFETs, and the inductors could be in parallel, and you'd have a single phase that looks like 2, and, like, costs way less because you're buying half as many MOSFETs for it. So yeah, I did so after that video is basically when Gigabyte really got in touch with me, if I remember correctly, and yeah, since then they've been actually really cool. And I think it's mostly because they've, like, fixed their entire, like, they've completely changed their, like, quality standards for their motherboards since then. And so now it's just like a bunch, like, I guess they're so cool with just sending me boards, because it's just like, yeah, we made a checklist of things Buildzoid complains about. We've just made sure if the board holds up against the checklist, so we can send Buildzoid all the PCB pictures he ever wants. He'll never complain about anything other than, like, our BIOS, and they are actually fixing the BIOS. Like, Z390 and X570 will have a new overhauled, like, BIOS from Gigabyte. So I really want to cover, like, I'm excited for that, because I saw some of the early plans for that, and the plans looked really good. Yeah, so I'm excited for that. I hope to get to cover that as soon as possible, because it should be, because basically the issue with current Gigabyte BIOS is not that it's like, if you're used to using a Gigabyte motherboard, it's really not that bad. It's just that if you're using a Gigabyte motherboard for the first time, it's bad. Like, it's legitimately very bad, because it's a mess. So they're fixing that. It's going to look a lot more like an ASUS BIOS, except it's not going to be quite an ASUS BIOS, because, well, you know, like, it's going to have Gigabyte themes to it, and the layout's going to still be a little bit different, because, yeah, you know, like, I would agree, like, even I think that, like, the ASUS BIOS layout is nice, but it's not necessarily the best, and so Gigabyte is doing some things a bit differently, but it'll be much more similar to, like, an ASUS BIOS, or I guess, well, or kind of like well, not really an ASRock BIOS, because you'll basically have like a main tab that you go into, and then you'll have like a bunch of the really important settings, and then you'll have some sub menus for the like deeper settings, and if I'm remembering it correctly, like basically they're simplifying it way down to be much easier to navigate, and they're also going to get rid of things like having like Gigabyte's LLC settings go something like you have extreme, ultra high, ultra high, medium, low, right? So you have 6 settings, and then there's standard. Actually, I might have this wrong. I might have added on a few extra settings from like ASUS or something, but I think ASUS... No, Gigabyte has an extreme load line calibration setting. They definitely have one. So ultra high might not... No. Yeah, ultra high might not be a thing. It's just ultra. So extreme, ultra, high, medium, low. And then they have standard, normal, and auto. And standard, medium, no, low, standard, normal, and auto all do the same thing. So it's like their their LLC settings are a mess, right? So they're getting rid of things like that as well. So yeah, they're overhauling the BIOS. Other than that, I've had a whole bunch of people ask me like, hey, Buildzoid, are you going to be doing like a general X570 motherboard overview video? And it's like, well, I don't know, guys. I think I did a X470 actually, I did like an AM4 overview video. I did a Z390 overview video. I think I did a Z370 well, I've done multiple AM4 overview videos. For Gamers Nexus. So I don't know, guys. What do you think the chance is that Steve is going to ask me to do another motherboard overview video come like at launch or like around Black Friday or something? What do you think the chances of that happening are? Yeah, like there's going to be one of those. Like seriously, I don't know why anybody's even asking. It's just like the thing is, it's like I get views for these videos, right? So it's like a lot of the time I do videos just because I think they're cool and fun. But there's also videos like that where it's just like, oh yeah, that's just easy views for me or for Gamers Nexus, and it's just like, yeah, I mean, I'll make that. It also means that I get less questions about, hey, Buildzoid, what do you think of this motherboard? Actually, I think I should do like an extended version where I do every single motherboard because for Gamers Nexus, what I do is like I choose out motherboards that like pick out a few boards that are like exceptional in some way, that I find them like they do something really, really well, and therefore they are noteworthy. But for AHOC, I mean, I can just go through all of the boards, and then just once we get to the low end stuff, it'll just be a trash talk fest. Just like, so yeah, there might be 2 of those. One like an extended version, which will just cover every board that I can take a look at, and then there'll be maybe a simplified version for Gamers Nexus, or maybe not. That there's definitely going to be at least one X570 overview video where it's either going to be me just covering the boards I really like, or covering all of the boards in general. So that is going to exist. And other than that, the last thing I wanted to address is I've had a bunch of people ask me about, hey, Buildzoid, are you going to cover the, are you going to do a PCB breakdown of the Vega for the new Apple Mac Pro, the dual Vega card? And I mean, I'd love to, but there's just one little issue. The only picture of that GPU that currently shows the PCB is a render. So there's nothing you can actually tell from that render at all. Like, it's just like, these are generic inductor models, generic MOSFET models, generic capacitor models. Like, you can't see anything on there. It's just like, you can kind of get an idea of the layout of the PCB, but that's about it. And the thing about Vega cards is that a Radeon 7 already is just like ridiculously complex in terms of how many different rails it has, because you have VCore, VHBM, VPP, VPEX, 1.8 volt. Wait, no, VPP is 1.8 volts. So we covered that one. HBM, VCore, VPP, PEX rail, VDDCI, and then there's like one more rail. So a normal Radeon 7 has 6 major rails, and yeah, 6 major rails. So that Vega for the Mac Pro should have 12 different voltage regulators, and then there's a PLX chip, and the PLX chip should have another, it shouldn't be like 12, it should be like, because 1.8 volts you can actually use for both cores, I think. So you shouldn't need 2 separate 1.8 volts regulators. But basically, like there's a whole bunch of different just like from the pictures that exist, it's impossible to say anything because it's just like I can't even tell you what phases are assigned to what rail because there's too damn many of them. So if I had pictures of that, I'd be totally, and actually I even if you had like nice high res pictures of that card, unless you actually know which inductors go where, like again, it's really hard to know the phase assignments. So yeah, like basically it's really hard to know where one regulator ends and one regulator starts. So that's kind of that. So I would cover it if I could cover it. And actually, if I had way more budget than I do, then I would actually totally look into like buying one of those and converting it into running in normal systems. The main concern there being like drivers, because I'm not sure that the actually no, because well, does Apple still do Boot Camp? They scrapped their Windows on Mac support yet? I'm not sure. Is this up to date? Just Google this. That's from 2018. Virtual machines, no. Boot Camp. Okay, Boot Camp is still a thing. So I assume AMD still has like a Windows driver that'll support. Yeah, so you could totally try to convert one of those from an Apple card into a like Windows card. That would be really cool. But obviously completely outside of my like it's way beyond my ability to do that just because that card costs way too much. But it wouldn't really be that hard because you could use a PCIe riser and then the main issue is just feeding in 12 volt. Like I assume the main issue would just be feeding the card with like 12 volts, 5 volts, and 3.3 maybe because 3.3 and 5. Well, 3.3 you would get that straight from the PCIe slot. From the normal PCIe slot, you just get your 3.3. And then 5 volts you would normally generate it on card because there's no 5 volts rail in the PCIe slot. Though I guess Apple could have added something like that to their modification of the PCIe standard. So yeah, like I would love to take a look at that. I'd love to actually get like mess around with that. I don't think it probably doesn't have any overclocking support, and the BIOS is completely locked down. But it would still be a cool thing to mess with. But yeah, unfortunately, I have zero plans of doing anything like that. So yeah, it's kind of everything I wanted to address. Other than that, you know, it's not just going to be X570 motherboard PCB breakdowns nonstop for the next couple weeks because I think that would be really boring. It gets really boring for me as well as just like I don't like doing the same video over and over again. Even as much as I like looking at motherboards and talking about motherboards, I don't like even I get bored of that eventually. So I will be I'm still working on memory overclocking on the Z390 Phantom Gaming ITX, which I have made progress in that department. I've managed to do 4000 megahertz on 16 gig sticks in that board. There's like a really I need to still validate that trick is required, and I think I should also update the BIOS on that board just in case the new maybe I'm on a really old BIOS and that's why I'm having so many issues. But yeah, so I'm still messing with that board. Once I'm sort of done with the memory overclocking stuff on it, I want to start working on some VRM thermals on it, and then same as all the other ITX boards I did. Then behind me, I've set up. Well, you can't tell what it is, but that right there is an oscilloscope. I'm gonna try get transient response measurements off of a Gigabyte Z390 Aorus Master, but I'm not sure that'll work out. Like I've tried it before, and it always ends up like I just get the few times I've tried it before, I basically just pick up a bunch of noise, and you can't see anything. Like you can basically see like. So at idle, your output voltage is nice and clean, and then it just gets, like, the voltage just gets really fat, and it's a pile of noise, and you can't see the transient at all. So that probably was a measurement issue. So I'm going to be working, trying to get that to, going to try again with a different board with the Master this time, because in the past I tried it with, some AM4 board, and I have a few different ideas on how to try make it easier to get the scope to trigger properly and everything. So yeah, that's another thing that I'm working on. And of course I've not forgotten about the RGB dominators. After I do the scope measurements, I'll probably stick the RGB dominators in the Z390 Aorus Master, and we'll do a memory overclocking video with with them in that board and see how, 4x8, 4x8 works on a 9900K, though currently it's equipped with an 8086K because the 9900K is in the Z390 Phantom Gaming ITX. So yeah, lots of stuff to do. And and of course my addiction to old irrelevant graphics cards hasn't gotten any better. So I've acquired a 7770 Vapor X and a 5870 Vapor X, and there's a whole bunch of fan mail sitting in the PO box that I need to get as well. So yeah, like, unlike most YouTube channels, I'd say, like, I could produce content constantly, whole year round, for at least a year without any new hardware launches. And when there's new hardware launches, it just means I have more of a mess to organize in terms of, like, what I want to record videos about first. So anyway, this video is now unnecessarily long, isn't it? But yeah, like, oh, and I've ordered a whole bunch of stuff from DigiKey because I've been running out of volt modding supplies. So yeah, the 770 Vapor X is going to end up going so fast. Like, seriously, old small GCN GPUs like 7770s, 7850s and 7870s to some extent as well, but also R7 260Xs are hilarious. Like, on air cooling, those cards can do like 1300 plus megahertz core, and you don't even need that much voltage to do it. So yeah, that's going to be sort of like, I guess, live stream content probably. I wanted to do a live stream with the 290Xs, but I was not having a good day that day. I did get a whole bunch of scores though. Anyway, let's just end it here. Nobody cares about my irrelevant benchmark scores, but the 290Xs will be definitely, well, I have plans for them for sure. Like, I have a bunch of plans for them, so you'll be seeing them a lot. Anyway, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching, and since this is a channel update, I mean, well, what? Nah, I'll just hit the stop button. There is a Teespring and Patreon link down in the description below if you'd like to support the channel.